Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring myself in charge of the forces of the Wood Elves up against Carl, aka Mr. Flying Taco, and the spirit of the jungle as Nakai does take to the field, going up against Orion here. Now this battle replay may seem familiar to some of you who managed to catch the live stream of this yesterday, but it was one of my favourite games from the live stream, and I'm probably going to be casting a few of them over the next couple of weeks. So if this does look familiar, that's probably where you spotted it, but we can do a bit of a breakdown here instead. So up on this high little perch here, we do have Double Way Watcher overlooking the swampy marsh of the Lizardmen here, trying to get a little bit of poke, doing some free damage to some skinks, which is a bit of waste of ammo, but I'm going to be pushing forward trying to get on top of those horned ones. Now for our main battle line, we do have Eternal Guard, cheerfully cheap stalwart warriors of the Wood Elf race, can do certainly a pretty damn good job at holding the line up against skinks. And even do okay up against Saurus Warriors. They're going to be protecting Double Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts. These guys in the back line do have decent AP, which is obviously something you want to do up against the heavily armoured dinos and the thick scaly skin of their Saurus Warriors and the like. We have a Spellsinger of Life coming in with an Earthblood, and Loix Tricksters as well. Regiment of renowned War Dancers with Azrai Spears to bounce around and try to take down some big cav engagements and drag down monsters. We have double Wild Riders as well. No money unfortunately for the Regiment of Renowned version, but these guys still do a pretty decent job of protecting the Way Watchers. And we also have the mighty Orion here, looking fabulous as always. Coming in, of course, with Horn of the Wild Hunt, Hounds of Orion, as well as a Hawk's Talon and all his lovely Cloak of Isha and the like, but he's certainly going to be up against it today because across the battle line he is facing a mighty Lizardman horde indeed. We have cheap and cheerful skinks and cohort of Sotek dotted all the way along the front line, including some red crested skinks added in there for a little bit of decent AP. Very interestingly, we do have a ton of horned ones dropping all the way along, so 1, 2... looks like, is that going to be, no, just the 2 units of horned ones and 2 units of cold ones there. For some reason I thought there was more horned ones, perhaps because they danced around the battlefield so much. We also have double feral cold one, a unit I'm really not a fan of, but in this matchup I can certainly see their utility being a nice harass tool all round. We do have 1 unit of Sacred Croxagore who can be working as a bodyguard for the man, the myth, the legend, the Nakai, the Wanderer. Considered by most to be one of the worst lords in the game, he has some decent stats and abilities, but he's just rather expensive for what he does and is a rather large target. Miasma of Despair coming in as well as his 1 ability, but also having golden tributes to give that perfect vigour. With a Skink Priest coming in without a Manticore summon, interestingly enough. Instead, the Curse, good for slowing down enemy troops and debuffing, and Pan's Impenetrable Pelt, probably going to be used to keep Nakai alive if anyone does indeed try to Waywatcher snipe him. So here we go guys, the battle is underway, fortunately wasting some Waywatcher ammo on top of some Skinks, but at the same time, at least we're drawing first blood, so you know, can't be too mad. Going to be pushing forward our Eternal Guard at this point as well. Going to meet the skinks in their swampy homeland, which is going to be a little bit rough. These guys, of course, do have the Aquatics trait. And it looks like a ton of the cav is going to be looping up and around this piece of terrain here. And they actually disappear from me for a while, so I kind of put them out of mind. Well, it looks like more of the cav are going to be coming straight down the gullet in the centre. Wild Riders are going to dance forward here, trying to get some free damage. You can see them bouncing along the terrain here, and they're going to be crashing in to the side of the skink cohorts, doing some lovely free damage straight out of the gate, which is always good stuff for us. So the Sacred Croxagore, relatively speedy at 46 speed, are going to be coming in here as well, although they are the focus of attention as well for the archers. And it looks like for the most part the Wild Riders are going to escape unscathed. Looks like a curse is going to come down though, but the Wild Riders should be able to get behind friendly lines before it really does affect them. However, there is a bit of a gap in the battle line here, and it looks like skinks are going to be pouring through. And look who else is coming through the gap. The mighty Nakai strides forth, leading a horde of Sacred Croxagore and Feral Cold Ones bursting through that hole in my lines and getting into the back jar here. However, we do have the Loic Tricksters to plug the gap and try to put pressure on the Feral Cold Ones. Wild Riders are charging in with the Horn of the Wild Hunt onto some horned ones. However, a nice Pan's Impenetrable Pelt is going to stop them taking too much damage. It's also allowing the extra overloaded flank here of the Cold One Riders and Horned Ones and the like to float round and isolate my poor Wild Riders on the flank. However, we have managed to secure a nice fire base on this left-hand side, protected by some Eternal Guard. We have Glade Guard as well as double Waywatchers firing in, trying to focus down Nakai at this moment, doing some pretty decent damage to him as Orion goes in there as well. But lovely play by my opponent, force pathing his Skinks past his Eternal Guard and trying to get on to the Waywatchers. However, we do manage to block them off with some Eternal Guard, and Wild Riders as well are darting back here, sacrificing themselves up against the Horned ones in an attempt to stop them there from breaking in and destroying the Waywatchers, who are going to be pretty key here to peeling off a lot of these high-value targets. You can see I'm trying to focus down the Horned ones as much as possible as they float in and get a lovely rear attack on top of the Wild Riders. Eternal Guard as well, being busy, trying to push back the Skinks, who are currently terrified. I'm just about holding on at this point, but everywhere else, our Eternal Guard are doing a pretty decent job, but they're not going to be able to win me the game. It's really these Waywatchers I want to keep alive, and as you're going to see here, we can see a Hex go down, the Curse, which is going to lower my speed by 24%, if I can get my words out there quickly, and lower the accuracy as well, which is a pretty big deal. And now we have Horned ones and Cold One Riders reaving through the back lines, running over these Waywatchers. And the real question at this point in my mind is, have I done enough damage to all these Cav units that my Eternal Guard and Orion will be able to carry the day? So we still also have some Lurk Tricksters in the mist as well. 50 kills on these bad ladies, but unfortunately have been tied down by a cohort of Sotek, which is a really bad matchup for them. They want to be on top of all these cavalry. Orion is beating the hell out of some of the Feral Cold ones here, who do receive a Cold Blood to stop their rampage and try and peel away. And it looks like he's using them to hunt down the Waywatchers here. And it looks like, for the most part, the Waywatchers are kind of done for. There's some rallying Wild Riders, but they are simply not going to be a match for the mighty Horned ones in an attempt to drag them down. Although we are going to, I think, in a time, take this engagement in the woods here to try and force those guys back. We do try and drop a Hawk's Talons on some idle Horned ones, but Mr. Taku does indeed spot them and dodge as quickly as possible. And it looks like the big old showdown is going down, and this is a good chance for me to get back in the game. If I can assassinate Nakai with Orion, and Orion is a far better duelist than Nakai and kind of perfect for dealing with him, but Miasma's Despair does go down to help break the leadership and slow down Orion, so he can't catch Nakai. And of course, if we can kill Nakai, then the Terror Routes could kick in. We can already see some Cold One Riders being terrified by the mighty Orion here, as some Hounds do come down, doing some okay damage to some Skinks. So we have the Spell Stone of Life floating back, but apart from that, Nakai's kind of bouncing between combats and beating down the Eternal Guard at this point. Looks like he's dropping on top of the Spell Slinger as well, kind of running over the poor lady. As the bounce power goes against me, it's looking a little rough, but Orion is still fully strong here, popping Foe Seeker and trying to hunt down Nakai himself. I was tempted to start throwing my Javelin, but with so many troops around, I was simply going to get bogged in. And it looks like it is Orion against the world at this point. We have a few troops who are kind of bounced around the periphery, some Waywatchers just screaming and running for the hills. But it looks like armor losses are about to kick in for me. And it looks like we simply have the mighty Orion. Pan's Impenetrable Pelt has once again come down onto Nakai to try and keep him nice and healthy. And a Cube of Darkness has been popped on Orion as well, but he won't care too much about that. We have a load of the Cold Ones bunched up here, as well as Sacred Coxagore and the like, so if we can drop any of our area effect abilities on them, it'd be some pretty good value. And it looks like we are going to be getting some cycle charging now coming in from the Lizardmen, and just allowing the cohort to kind of surround and beat down Orion at this point. We still do have the Cloak of Isha yet, though, so this is certainly not over yet. It gives a massive amount of healing. If we can find Orion in the mist here, and have a little look at the Cloak. So it restores 8 hit points a second and gives him 44% damage resistance, which is pretty huge. However, there's a lot of heavy hitters here, so they may be able to drag him down. Hawk's Talon does come in, doing some okay damage to the Sacred Coxagore, but the slightly more agile Skinks and Cav do manage to run away here. Looks like the Coxagore are in fact out of control and unable to hold themselves accountable there. And Nakai does come in, and he actually knocks Orion to the ground before dropping a Miasma of Despair on him. Hounds do burst forth, doing some okay damage. These aren't really the troops it's designed to kill, although the Red Precious Skinks, I suppose, will take a bit of punishment here. And Orion is starting to struggle at this point, but you can see the Cold One Riders are starting to be terrified away, and the Terror Route is certainly on the cards, but from the trees here emerge 2 units of Horned ones, as well as some Feral Cold Ones and Skinks, and this is not a welcome sight at all, as Orion really starting to struggle here. He's trying his best to go toe-to-toe with the mighty Nakai, but the Wanderer is the true king of the jungle, it would seem. And as we all know, jungles are a little bit better than woods when it comes to power levels, in my opinion. And Orion simply is going to be going down here, down to just 150 health. He's attempting to heal so badly, but surrounded by all these pesky red-crested skinks, and of course someone as mighty as Nakai, who's taken a fair amount of damage himself. But once again, I love the Pan's impenetrable pelt play. The spell I don't get to see terribly often. It looks like Nakai actually gets the killing blow there on Orion, which is pretty epic stuff. So I hope you guys did enjoy that replay. If you did, do consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a big old thumbs up. Feel free to comment as well, as I do get back to all my comments eventually. It just takes me a little while. Anyway, well played to Carl, aka Flying Taco. And at the time I didn't know it was Taco. He was actually watching in the stream and let me know afterwards, so I felt a lot less bad about the loss afterwards of losing to Nakai and the Spirit of the Jungle. But really interesting build all round. Loving to see the Horned Ones in action. This is a matchup they can certainly shine in. Very good at taking down Wild Riders all round. You have to be a bit careful of Weight Watchers, of course, with a build like this. However, there's so much potential for swarming here. All the cav units, even the Sacred Crocs got are relatively fast, and Skinks can certainly push through that battle line as well. We managed to do huge amounts of damage to the build, but couldn't quite finish off those key targets, leaving poor Orion to try to hold the line himself, but unfortunately going down there. So yeah, anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. Just a heads up for anyone who's not kind of in the loop, CA have announced that the Wood Elf DLC is going to be coming out in December, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Should be some good fun. I think most people expected it to come in November, which is a little bit unfortunate that it's not, but still, we're getting a nice early Christmas present, I hope. So anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.